Let's say you didn't read the title of the video. If I gave you this resume without any context, nothing else to go by, what can you infer about this character? Pause the video if you need time to think. Ready? Okay. You'd probably think, this character was a terrible mother. She did all this horrible stuff to her daughters and had 48 total children? You wouldn't be wrong. You might try to outright guess which fictional character this is, or take a moment to really digest the information and eventually give a more thoughtful answer. Sooner or later, you'd probably come to the conclusion that they're, without a shadow of a doubt, an evil character. Maybe even the main villain in wherever they come from. Surely, right? What does JMA always say? The data doesn't lie? Well, it just did. No one can do all this and still be considered by most a neutral character. Villain. A character whose evil actions or motives are important to the plot. Antagonist. One who actively opposes or is hostile to someone or something. Usually the protagonist or protagonists in a story. Queen Coral should be considered by 100% of readers, not just 23%, as both of those, and absolutely not just a neutral side character. Coral definitely has enough page time in Book 2 for her actions and motives to be important to the plot. But is she evil? We'll actually have to study them to find that out. Let's start with her actions. The first hint of Coral possibly being evil is when Moray gives her the news of a dead dragon up the shoreline. Assuming it's one of her subjects, she yawns and sarcastically feigns interest. Only when she finds out it's a skywing does she care, as that could potentially spell danger for the tribe as a whole. Later in the council meeting, the book hints again at Coral's questionable morality when two exhausted, badly injured sea-wings give a battle report. She seems to ignore the injuries, seemingly worried about the blood-stained floor instead. Tsunami even had to interrupt and state the obvious, that these dragons were in no condition to do anything except receive immediate medical attention, for Coral to finally send these poor dragons to the healers. But the obvious actions occur later in the book. When the second-to-last egg in the royal hatchery is found dead, Coral straight up murdered the lone guard, Tortoise, in a rage. One could argue that she deserved it for failing the queen, but it's just cruel to kill a dragon for taking a snack break that was given to her by a superior, especially when she was on guard 24/7 for an unhealthy amount of time. No one had any way of knowing that the assassin would strike in the 2 minutes out of days that the egg was unguarded. But here's what really confirms it. She tried and almost succeeded in chaining up and drowning 4 dragonettes, the dragonettes of destiny except for Tsunami, of course. And if that wasn't enough to be considered evil, she put them in prison again, this time with her own daughter for good measure. No child deserves to be drowned to death, and the Dodds didn't even do anything to provoke her. However, her actions are clearly evil, but her motives seem mostly fair. She prioritizes keeping her daughters safe, working to win the war, writing scrolls, and keeping the Sea-Wing tribe safe as a whole, even at the expense of a few low-ranked dragons here and there. Unfortunately for her, being a villain only requires evil actions or motives, and Coral certainly checks out. And the next part is really easy now that we know exactly what this dragon has done. Coral is obviously an antagonist because she opposed the protagonists by trying to drown them and imprisoning them twice. Plain and simple. As we can now clearly see, Queen Coral is both a villain and an antagonist, contrary to popular belief. But if you're still not convinced, just remember how much she did to help 2 clear villains in Blister and Whirlpool. She sent thousands of her loyal subjects off to die in war for nothing but treasure, which the Sea-Wings have plenty of, and a shaky alliance in return from Blister. Coral made renovations to the Summer Palace, imprisoned her daughter, and endangered her other daughter's soul for her. And for Whirlpool, she did something so bad that I'm probably not even allowed to talk about it on YouTube. Case closed. Every fan of the series deserves to know this, so hopefully I'm helping turn this into this. I guess it's also healthy for the canon to have an older, less competent queen in the mix after all the other awful wartime ones were replaced with young, promising queens like Ruby and Glory. But she is improving. I remember somewhere in the series it said that she's been at peace since Orca's statue has been destroyed. She also had some really wholesome moments with Turtle in books 9 and 10, which gave me a little bit of faith in her character going forward. If we ever get an Arc 4 or another Legends book, I would love to see a backstory focused on Coral and Gil. I think it would be really interesting to see what their relationship was really like, and how they managed the Sea-Wing tribe when they were together. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If I missed something, you have a suggestion for future videos, or tips on how to make them better, this is my first one, so it's probably not amazing, please don't hesitate to message me in the comments. Otherwise, have a good one.